Commander Jake Morrison stood in the control room of the big warship called U.E.'s Vengeance. The ship was huge and powerful, one of Earth's newest fighting vessels. Jake looked out at the stars through the large window. Everything seemed quiet and peaceful. Then something changed. The communication screen started to glow with a strange blue light. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, who worked the radio systems, looked up with wide eyes. She had never seen anything like this before. "Sir, we are getting a message from very far away," Amy said. Her voice was shaking a little. "The signal is coming from another part of the galaxy." Jake walked over to look at the screen. The image was fuzzy at first, but then it became clear. An alien face appeared on the screen. The creature had large, sad eyes that looked like they were made of crystal. Its skin was pale and smooth, almost like white stone. "This is Ambassador Zephyr of the Kithra Coalition," the alien said. The voice was soft and musical, but full of fear. "Our worlds are burning. The hegemony attacks us without mercy. They kill our children, our old people, everyone. We have heard stories about Earth, about the strong warriors who come from a world of death. Please, if your people have any kindness, help us. We are dying." The message ended, and the screen went dark. The control room was very quiet for a moment. Jake looked around at his crew. They all had the same shocked look on their faces. Amy checked her instruments. "Commander, the message came from the Andromeda Spiral. That is 47 light years away from here. Our long-distance sensors show big explosions happening on their planets. Someone is attacking them with huge weapons." Jake knew about the Kithra Coalition. They were peaceful aliens who made beautiful art and studied philosophy. They had 12 worlds where millions of beings lived quiet, happy lives. The Kithra had never built warships or armies. They believed in talking to solve problems, not fighting. Captain Lisa Bennett walked up to Jake. She was his second in command and had been in many battles. "Sir, we know about the hegemony. They have been taking over peaceful worlds for 10 years. They think weak species are easy to conquer. They steal everything valuable and make the survivors work as slaves." Jake frowned. "How long has it been since Earth first heard from the Kithra?" 3 years, sir," Amy answered. "The Kithra sent messages wanting to be friends. They offered to share their art and knowledge with us. But the Earth Senate voted to stay away from galactic politics until we understood more about what was happening out there." Jake nodded. He understood why Earth was careful. When humans first met aliens, it had almost been a disaster. The Dominion Empire had tried to make Earth a slave world, only because humans were tougher and smarter fighters than expected had. Earth won that war, but this was different. The Kithra were not trying to hurt anyone. They were asking for help against monsters who killed innocent people. "Get the fleet ready to leave right now," Jake ordered. "Tell the U.E.'s Retribution and U.E.'s Defiance to join us. Also call Colonel Ryan Murphy and his Space Marines. If we are going to fight, we need to be ready for anything." Amy looked worried. "Sir, the rules say we need permission from the Senate before we can fight in space that does not belong to Earth." Jake's face became hard and angry. How long would it take to get that permission? At least 2 weeks for the committees to meet and talk about it. Then more time for debates and votes, Amy said. "The Kithra do not have 2 weeks, Jake said. He looked out at the stars again. Sometimes a commander has to make hard choices without waiting for politicians to argue. "Tell the Senate what we are doing after we have already left." Lieutenant Tony Garcia, who watched the sensor equipment, looked up from his station. "Sir, are you sure about this? If we leave without permission, we could all be in big trouble when we get back." Jake turned to face his crew. These were good people who had served with him for years. They trusted him to make the right decisions. "Tony, how many innocent people do you think are dying right now while we stand here talking?" Tony looked down at his instruments. The energy readings suggest massive bombing of cities and towns, probably thousands dying every hour. Then we do not have time to worry about getting in trouble, Jake said. We swore an oath to protect innocent people. That oath does not stop at Earth's borders. Captain Bennett began giving orders to prepare the ship for travel. All crew to battle stations. Engineering, prepare for maximum speed jump to hyperspace. Medical bay, get ready for possible casualties. Weapons department, run full checks on all systems. The ship began to hum with activity. Hundreds of crew members ran to their positions. The HFY Vengeance was a powerful warship, but it was much smaller than the huge alien vessels they might have to fight. Earth ships were built to be fast and deadly, not big and slow. Colonel Murphy appeared on the communication screen from the Marine deck. He was a tough older man with scars from many battles. Commander, I have 2,000 Marines ready to fight, but if we are going up against a whole enemy fleet, we might be in over our heads. Colonel, the hegemony has spent decades beating up weak, peaceful species, Jake replied. They have never fought anyone from a death world. They do not know what that means, Murphy smiled grimly. Sir, should we prepare for boarding actions? Prepare for everything, Colonel. We do not know what we will find when we get there. The ship's engines roared to life. The stars outside began to stretch into long lines of light as the HFY Vengeance prepared to jump into hyperspace. The other Earth ships, Retribution and Defiance, moved into formation beside them. Amy received a message from Earth Command. Sir, Admiral Davis is asking for confirmation of our mission status. Tell the Admiral that we are responding to a humanitarian crisis, Jake said. We will file a full report when we return. The ship jumped into hyperspace, and the stars disappeared into a tunnel of swirling light. They were now traveling faster than light itself, racing across the galaxy to help people they had never met. Lieutenant Rodriguez worked at her station, trying to learn more about their enemy. Sir, the hegemony has conquered over 200 different species in the last 50 years. They follow the same pattern every time. First, they destroy the planet's defenses. Then they kill most of the population. Finally, they keep the survivors as workers until they strip the world of everything valuable. What about their military? Captain Bennett asked. They have huge ships much bigger than ours, Tony reported. But they are built for fighting weak enemies. Heavy weapons, thick armor, but slow and not very maneuverable. They rely on size and fear to win battles. Jake studied the information on his screen. The hegemony had 47 major warships in the Kithra system, plus hundreds of smaller vessels. It seemed impossible that 3 Earth ships could make a difference against such a force. But Jake knew something the hegemony did not understand. Humans came from Earth, a world where almost everything was trying to kill them. They had survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years, diseases that killed millions, and natural disasters that destroyed entire continents. Humans did not give up easily. How long until we reach the Kithra system? Jake asked. 6 hours at maximum speed, Tony answered. Good, that gives us time to plan. Jake turned to address his entire crew over the ship's communication system. Attention all. Hands, we are going to help people who cannot help themselves. The enemy is bigger and stronger than us, but they have never fought humans before. They do not know that we do not surrender. They do not know that we fight harder when things look impossible. Show them what Earth's children can do. The crew cheered, and the ship raced through hyperspace toward an uncertain battle. The 3 Earth ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kithra star system. What Jake Morrison saw through the main window made his blood run cold. 3 of the 12 beautiful Kithra worlds were burning. Huge alien warships hung in space like giant metal monsters, shooting bright beams of death down at the planets below. Lieutenant Tony Garcia stared at his sensor screen with horror. Commander, They are destroying everything. The third planet looks like someone took a giant shovel to it. They are digging up the whole surface. Jake watched the tactical display that showed enemy ship positions. The hegemony fleet was massive. 47 huge warships, each one the size of a small city, floated in the darkness. Around them buzzed hundreds of smaller ships like angry insects. The human fleet looked tiny in comparison. Captain Lisa Bennett pulled up files about their enemy on her computer screen. Sir, the hegemony follows the same plan every time they attack. First, they kill 7 out of every 10 people on the planet. Then they keep the rest as workers until they have taken everything valuable from the world. Colonel Murphy's rough voice came through the communication system from the Marine deck. Commander, my boys are ready to fight, but there are so many enemy ships, we might be flying into a meat grinder. Jake studied the enemy formation. The hegemony ships were arranged in a perfect pattern, like they were on parade. They moved slowly and predictably. Colonel, these aliens have been beating up peaceful species for so long. They have forgotten how to fight a real enemy. They think big ships and big guns automatically win battles. A new message appeared on the communication screen. This time it was not from the peaceful Kithra. An alien with golden scales and cold, cruel eyes stared at them. This was clearly a hegemony commander, and he looked very angry. Unknown ships, you are in hegemony space now, the alien said in a harsh, hissing voice. Tell us who you are right now, or we will destroy you. Jake stepped in front of the screen. He kept his voice calm and steady. This is Commander Morrison of the United Earthship Vengeance. We came because the Kithra asked for help. Take your ships and leave this system now. The golden-scaled alien made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was cold and mean. Humans, we have heard stories about your kind. You say you come from a world of death, but you only brought 3 little ships against our great fleet. Your pride will get you killed. Jake smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Before you do something you will regret forever, let me tell you about my people. We come from a planet where 90% of everything alive is trying to kill everything else. Our ancestors lived through ice ages that lasted thousands of years. They survived when huge rocks fell from space and when mountains exploded with fire. We did not build spaceships to explore. We built them so we would have somewhere to run when our own planet tries to kill us again. The hegemony commander's expression changed slightly. For the first time, he looked a little uncertain. Your biology does not matter in space war. We have 16 ships for every one of yours. Jake's smile became colder. Colonel Murphy, send our standard warning to everyone in this system. Murphy's voice boomed across space on all radio frequencies. This is Colonel Ryan Murphy of the Earth Colonial Marines. You have 30 seconds to start leaving Kithra space. This is the only warning you will get. We are humanity. We come from a death world. We do not make deals with slavers, and we do not show mercy to people who hurt innocent children. The 30 seconds passed in complete silence. Jake counted down in his head. When the time was up, he gave the order that would change everything. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Show them what happens when you mess with a death world species. The hegemony response was exactly what Jake expected. All 47 enemy warships opened fire at once. The space between the fleets lit up with deadly energy beams and explosive missiles. It looked like a deadly light show. Defensive pattern Alpha, Jake ordered calmly. The 3 human ships moved like dancers, spinning and diving between the enemy shots. Earth military ships were built for speed and agility, not size. While the huge hegemony vessels tried to turn their massive guns, the human ships slipped around them like small fish avoiding slow whales. Amy Rodriguez worked her controls frantically. All ships, target their command vessel first. If we cut off the head, the body will die. The HFY Vengeance's main gun charged up with a deep humming sound. The weapon was a railgun that shot pieces of super-hard metal at incredible speed. When it fired, the tungsten rod flew through space at 12% of light speed. The shot hit the Hegemony flagship right in the middle. The alien ship's protective shields might as well have been made of paper. The metal rod punched completely through the huge vessel, and the central section exploded in a brief, bright star. Panicked voices filled the radio channels from the enemy fleet. Impossible! Their weapons should not be able to break through our shields. Captain Bennett watched the tactical display as the enemy ships tried to surround them. Sir, they are changing formation. They want to trap us in the middle. Let them. Try, Jake replied. Tony, launch all fighter squadrons. Amy, tell Colonel Murphy to get ready for boarding actions. Lisa, prepare for close combat. Small human fighter ships screamed out of the launch bays like angry hornets. Each fighter was tiny compared to the huge enemy ships, but they were piloted by humans who had trained their whole lives in Earth's heavy gravity. The human pilots could handle acceleration forces that would kill most other species. Pilot Kate Williams led the first group of fighters into the enemy formation. Her ship danced between laser blasts that could have destroyed any other craft. This is Reaper 1, starting attack runs on their carrier ships. These aliens fight like they have never faced anyone who knows how to fight back. She was right. The Hegemony had conquered peaceful worlds for so long that they had forgotten how to handle an enemy that actually fought back effectively. Their ships were huge and powerful, but they were also slow and clumsy. Their weapons could destroy planets, but they could not hit fast-moving targets. Colonel Murphy's Marines began their own attacks, using special assault pods to break into enemy ships. The Marines wore powered armor that let them survive in the vacuum of space. The Hegemony crews had never faced soldiers who could fight effectively, even when their ships were damaged and losing air. Sergeant Dan Foster led the first boarding team onto a Hegemony destroyer. The alien crew tried to stop them with energy weapons, but human combat suits were designed to work in environments that would instantly kill unprotected life. Resistance is lighter than I expected, Foster reported over the radio. These aliens have never fought anyone who actually knows how to fight. Moving to take control of their bridge. The battle was fierce and loud, with explosions lighting up space like fireworks. But within the first 30 minutes, it became clear that the Hegemony was losing. Despite having many more ships, they began pulling back after losing 2/3 of their fleet. Jake watched as the surviving enemy ships tried to escape. The mighty Hegemony fleet, which had terrorized peaceful species across the galaxy, was running away from 3 human warships. They had learned a hard lesson about what happens when you pick a fight with predators from a death world. The space around the Kethra worlds was now filled with the wreckage of Hegemony ships. The immediate threat was over, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Hegemony would not forget this defeat, and they would return with even more ships. But for now, the Kethra were safe, and the galaxy had learned something important. Earth's children had arrived among the stars, and they did not tolerate bullies. The space around the Kethra worlds was now quiet. Pieces of destroyed Hegemony ships floated in the darkness like metal clouds. The immediate danger was over, but Jake Morrison knew their work was far from finished. The surviving Kethra needed help, and the Hegemony would not forget this defeat. Ambassador Zephyr appeared on the communication screen from one of the few remaining Kethra ships. The crystal-like alien looked tired and sad, but there was hope in those large eyes for the first time in months. Commander Morrison, we do not have words to thank you enough, Zephyr said in that musical voice. You saved our people when no one else in the galaxy would help us. Jake looked at the damage reports from the Kethra worlds. 3 planets had been badly hurt. Entire cities were gone, turned into smoking ruins. Millions of innocent people were dead. The beautiful gardens and art centers the Kithra were famous for had been destroyed. The danger is not over yet, Jake told the ambassador. The hegemony will come back with more ships. They cannot let word of this defeat spread to other parts of their empire, or rebellions will start everywhere. Captain Lisa Bennett brought up strategic information on her screen. Sir, our intelligence reports say the hegemony has over 300 major warships spread across their territory. If they bring them all together to attack us... double quotes Jake interrupted her. They will not get the chance to gather their forces. We are not going to sit here and wait for them to come back stronger. We are going to end this threat once and for all. Colonel Murphy joined the meeting through the communication system. Sir, are you saying we should attack hegemony space directly? That would mean war with an entire empire. Jake pulled up a star map showing hegemony territory. It covered dozens of star systems connected by trade routes and military supply lines. Colonel, in the past 50 years, how many peaceful species has the hegemony conquered or wiped out completely? Murphy checked his files. Intelligence says over 200 different species, sir. And how many of those conquered peoples ever got their freedom back? How many developed the ability to fight back effectively? None, sir. The hegemony's standard practice is to eliminate entire cultures within one generation. Jake nodded grimly. Then we are not dealing with a normal military enemy. We are facing an empire that commits genocide as official policy. They see peaceful species as resources to be harvested. The galaxy has been waiting for someone strong enough to stop them. Ambassador Zephyr's crystal features changed in what might have been surprise and hope. Commander, are you suggesting that humanity would challenge the entire hegemony empire? I am saying that humanity does not negotiate with slavers and mass murderers, Jake replied firmly. We are going to destroy their ability to threaten innocent people ever again. Lieutenant Tony Garcia looked up from his sensor station. Sir, the hegemony's central command is in the Terminus system. It is heavily defended with over 50 orbital defense platforms and their entire reserve fleet. Then that is where we will go eventually, Jake decided. But first, we are going to visit every world the hegemony has conquered in the past 10 years. We will free every slave, liberate every occupied planet, and destroy every military base. Captain Bennett looked worried. Sir, that is essentially declaring war on an empire that spans half the galaxy. Jake's face was hard as stone. Captain, 3 days ago, the hegemony was systematically killing the Kithra people. They were bombing cities full of children and families. They were enslaving survivors to work in their mines until they died. In my opinion, they declared war on basic human decency a long time ago. We are just finally fighting back. Amy Rodriguez had been monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Sir, I am picking up transmissions from other species. Word of our victory here is already spreading. Some of the conquered worlds are asking if the rumors are true. Jake made his decision. Send a message on all frequencies to every world under hegemony control. Tell them that Earth stands with all free peoples. Tell them that help is coming. The next few days were busy as the human fleet prepared for a much larger campaign. Engineers worked around the clock to repair damage from the first battle. Medical teams treated wounded crew members. Supply officers counted ammunition and spare parts. More importantly, they began to receive unexpected help. The first to arrive was a small fleet of Cathura ships. Despite their losses, the Crystal People wanted to help free other species from hegemony oppression. We are not warriors like you, Ambassador Zephyr explained to Jake. But we have fast ships that can carry supplies and wounded people. We also know the locations of many hegemony slave camps. Soon after, representatives from the Altarian Republic contacted them. The Altarians had been conquered by the hegemony 5 years earlier, but some of their people had escaped to hidden bases in asteroid fields. We have been planning rebellion for years, said Captain Vex. the Altarian resistance leader. But we never had the military strength to succeed. If you can provide the heavy fighting power, we can guide you to the most important targets. The growing alliance chose their first target carefully. The Zarian system contained the largest hegemony slave processing center in this part of the galaxy. Over 6 million beings from 12 different species were held there, being conditioned for lives as forced laborers. Jake stood before his expanded fleet, now including human, Kithra, and Altarian vessels. The beings held at Zarian have been tortured and broken by their captors. Many have been there for years. They have given up hope of ever being free. We are going to prove them wrong. The attack on Zarian was swift and decisive. The hegemony garrison had become lazy and overconfident. They never expected an attack on such a heavily defended facility. The human ships broke through their defenses like a knife through paper. Colonel Murphy's Marines landed on the planet's surface to secure the slave camps. What they found there made even the hardened soldiers sick with anger. The hegemony had turned cruelty into a science, using systematic torture to break the will of their captives. "Sir, we have found the main processing center," Sergeant Dan Foster reported over the radio. His voice was tight with rage. "They have children as young as 5 years old in conditioning chambers. The aliens are trying to erase their memories of home and family." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, fighting down his own anger. "Save everyone you can, Sergeant. Show these people that someone finally cares enough to help them." The liberation of Zarian took 3 days, but every minute was worth it. When the freed beings saw human soldiers breaking down the doors of their prison cells, many could not believe it was real. They had been told so many times that no one was coming to help them. A young being from the Centauri species, barely more than a child, looked up at Sergeant Foster with large, frightened eyes. "Are you really here to take us home?" the child asked in a whisper. Foster knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, little one. You are free now. No one will ever hurt you again." As news of the Zarian liberation spread across the galaxy, more resistance groups contacted the human fleet. The Andromedans offered intelligence on hegemony troop movements. The Tausetians provided medical supplies for the rescued beings. Even some of the more cautious species began to quietly support the growing rebellion. Jake stood on the bridge of the HFY Vengeance, looking at star charts showing hegemony territory. Red marks indicated worlds still under enemy control. Each mark represented millions of enslaved beings waiting for freedom. "How many more systems, Captain Bennett?" he asked. Bennett consulted their growing list of targets. 43 major slave centers, 17 military shipyards, and 8 regional command posts, plus the main headquarters at Terminus. Jake nodded. "Then we have 43 more chances to prove that no one has the right to enslave innocent people. Signal the fleet. We move to the next target in 6 hours." The war to free the galaxy had truly begun. The war against the hegemony had been going on for 6 months now. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the control room of the HFY Vengeance, looking at a star map covered with green lights. Each green light showed a world that his growing fleet had freed from hegemony control. There were 37 of them now, but many more red lights still remained. The human fleet was no longer just 3 Earth ships. Representatives from 47 different freed species had joined the fight. The Altarians provided fast scout ships that could slip past enemy patrols. The Kithra used their artistic skills to create inspiring messages that spread hope across the galaxy. The Centaurians, despite being peaceful by nature, offered medical aid to the millions of rescued slaves. Captain Lisa Bennett walked up to Jake with the latest intelligence reports. "Sir, our spies inside hegemony space report that their empire is starting to crack. 3 entire sectors have declared independence in the past month. Their military is spread too thin trying to hold everything together." Jake nodded, but his face remained serious. That is good news, but it also makes them more dangerous. Desperate enemies often do terrible things. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. Sir, we are receiving a priority message from the resistance cell on Drakmor Prime. They say the hegemony is planning something called Operation Final Solution for all the slave worlds still under their control. The name sent a chill down Jake's spine. What kind of operation? Tony Garcia pulled up intelligence files on his screen. Sir, it appears the hegemony has decided that if they cannot keep their slaves, no one can have them. They are planning to use biological weapons to kill every enslaved being in their territory. The control room went completely silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Millions of innocent people would die if the hegemony carried out this plan. All the beings they had not yet rescued would be murdered out of pure spite. How long before they can implement this plan? Jake asked quietly. Our sources say they need 2 weeks to produce enough biological weapons to cover all their slave worlds. Amy answered. Jake looked at the star map again. There were still 26 major slave centers across hegemony space. His fleet had been moving carefully, making sure each liberation was complete before moving to the next target. But now they did not have time for careful planning. Colonel Murphy appeared on the communication screen from the Marine deck. The tough soldier looked grim. Commander, my intelligence teams have confirmed the biological weapon reports. The hegemony is calling it their final act of defiance. If they cannot rule the galaxy, they will make sure to cause as much death as possible before they fall. Jake made the hardest decision of his military career. We cannot save everyone, but we can save as many as possible. We are going to split our forces and hit multiple targets at the same time. Captain Bennett looked shocked. Sir, that goes against every tactical principle we know. Dividing our forces will make each group weaker. Sometimes you have to choose between tactical perfection and moral necessity, Jake replied. We have allies now, species that have learned to fight because we showed them how. It is time to trust them to handle some battles on their own. The next day, Jake called together all the Allied fleet commanders for a massive strategy meeting. Representatives from dozens of species filled the main conference room through holographic projections. Some were familiar faces like Ambassador Zephyr and Captain Vex, while others were new allies who had joined the cause recently. Friends, Jake began, we face our greatest challenge yet. The hegemony plans to murder millions of innocent beings. Rather than lose control of them, we cannot let this happen. Captain Vex of the Altarians spoke first. Commander Morrison, my people have been preparing for this moment for years. We know the locations of every major slave facility in the eastern sectors. Give us ships and weapons, and we will free our people. Commander Theta of the Andromedans nodded agreement. The Andromedan Defense Fleet is ready for independent operations. We have learned much from studying human tactics. One by one, the Allied commanders volunteered to lead liberation missions to different hegemony worlds. Jake felt proud watching these beings who had once been conquered victims, now standing ready to fight as equals. Very well, Jake said. We will coordinate simultaneous strikes on 26 different targets. Each task force will have human ships for heavy combat support, but the local commanders will lead their own operations. The preparation took 3 days of intense work. Engineers transferred weapons and equipment between ships. Medical teams set up field hospitals. Intelligence officers shared detailed maps of enemy installations. Jake kept the most dangerous mission for himself. The Terminus system, where the hegemony leadership was hiding, contained not only their central command, but also their main biological weapon production facility. If that facility was not destroyed, the death weapons could still be deployed even if other missions succeeded. Sir, Amy said as they prepared to leave for Terminus, Earth Command has sent another message demanding your immediate return. Admiral Carter says you are risking a galactic war. Jake almost laughed. Tell Admiral Carter that the Galactic War already started when the hegemony began committing genocide. We are just finally fighting back. The day of the coordinated attack arrived. Jake watched his tactical display as allied fleets moved toward their targets across hundreds of light years of space. Each group represented hope for millions of enslaved beings. All task forces report ready, Amy announced. Operation Freedom Dawn is prepared to begin. Jake took a deep breath. Signal all allied forces. Execute Operation Freedom Dawn. Show the galaxy that evil will not triumph while good beings are willing to fight. The attacks began simultaneously across 26 star systems. Jake watched the reports come in as his allies proved they had learned their lessons well. The Altarians used hit-and-run tactics to confuse enemy defenders. The Kuthra provided jamming support that blinded hegemony sensors. The Centaurians had overcome their peaceful nature enough to provide fire support for ground operations. Meanwhile, Jake led his own assault on the Terminus system. The hegemony had concentrated there. Remaining forces here, knowing this would be the final battle. Over 100 enemy warships waited for them, along with massive orbital defense platforms. This is it, Jake announced to his crew. Everything we have fought for comes down to this battle. The biological weapon facility must be destroyed, no matter what it costs us. The battle for Terminus was the fiercest fighting of the entire war. The hegemony threw everything they had at the human fleet. Energy beams lit up space like deadly fireworks. Missiles streaked between ships like swarms of angry insects. But the humans had learned much during 6 months of constant combat. They moved like a pack of wolves, each ship covering the others, while striking at enemy weak points. The hegemony, vessels built for intimidating peaceful species, could not match the speed and coordination of ships crewed by Deathworld predators. Colonel Murphy's Marines fought their way through the biological weapon facility while the space battle raged. Overhead, they found laboratories full of horrible diseases designed to kill specific alien species. The hegemony scientists had been working frantically to complete their genocide plan. Facility secured, sir, Murphy reported. We have captured their research data and destroyed all the biological weapons. The galaxy is safe from this particular nightmare. Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders as reports came in from the other battle groups. 24 of the 26 liberation missions had succeeded completely. 2 had faced heavier resistance, but still managed to rescue most of their targets. The hegemony's evil empire was finally broken. Their ability to threaten innocent beings was destroyed forever. Most importantly, millions of enslaved people were free to return to their home worlds or start new lives wherever they chose. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when good triumphed over evil, when different species worked together to protect the innocent. And they would remember that it started when humans from a death world decided that some things were worth fighting for, no matter the odds. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. Commander Jake Morrison stood in what had once been the hegemony's central command center on Terminus Prime. The massive complex was now filled with representatives from over 60 different species, all working together to build something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Lisa Bennett approached Jake with a tablet full of reports. Sir, the final count is in. We liberated 437 worlds. Over 200 million beings have been freed from slavery. 68 different species that were thought to be extinct have been found alive in hegemony prison camps. Jake looked out through the large windows at the construction work happening in orbit. Ships from dozens of worlds were working together to build new space stations. These would serve as coordination centers for the new Galactic Freedom Alliance that had grown from their desperate fight against the hegemony. What about the hegemony leadership? Jake asked. Most of the top commanders were killed during the final battles, Bennett replied. The few survivors have been turned over to the Alliance Tribunal. Representatives from the freed worlds will decide their punishment. Ambassador Zephyr appeared in the doorway, looking much healthier than when Jake had first seen the crystal being months ago. The Kithara had become the unofficial diplomatic voice of the Alliance, using their skills with language and art to help different species communicate. Commander Morrison, Zephyr said in that musical voice, the Alliance Council has reached a decision about Earth's role in the new galactic order. Jake turned to face the ambassador. He had been wondering when this conversation would come. Earth had started this war without permission from its own government, and there would be consequences when he returned home. The Council has voted unanimously. Zephyr continued. We want to offer Earth a permanent seat on the Galactic Freedom Council. Your species has proven that strength should be used to protect the weak, not to dominate them. Jake shook his head slowly. Ambassador, I appreciate the honor, but I am not sure Earth is ready for that responsibility. My government is probably preparing court-martial papers for me right now. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. Sir, we just received a priority message from Earth. Admiral Sarah Walker wants to speak with you directly. Jake sighed. He had been expecting this call for weeks. Put her through, Amy. Admiral Walker's stern face appeared on the main screen. She was one of the most respected officers in Earth's military, known for her strategic brilliance and unwavering moral principles. Jake prepared himself for the reprimand he deserved. Commander Morrison, the Admiral began, you have caused quite a stir back here on Earth. Yes, ma'am. I understand that I violated direct orders and engaged in unauthorized military action. I am prepared to face the consequences. Admiral Walker smiled slightly. Oh, you are definitely going to face consequences. The Senate has been debating your actions for weeks. Half of them want to give you a medal, and the other half want to throw you in prison. Jake blinked in surprise. Ma'am, Commander, the footage from your battles has been broadcast across Earth for months. The liberation of the slave camps, the rescue of extinct species, the formation of the Galactic Freedom Alliance. The entire planet has been watching. Public support for your mission is at 97%. Captain Bennett leaned closer to the screen. Admiral, what is Earth's official position on the Alliance? That is why I am calling, Walker replied. The President has asked me to inform Commander Morrison that Earth formally accepts the invitation to join the Galactic Freedom Council. Furthermore, the Senate has voted to establish a new branch of military service specifically for galactic peacekeeping operations. Jake felt stunned. They are making this official? Commander Morrison, you have changed everything. Before your mission, Earth was an isolated world afraid of galactic politics. Now we are being asked to help lead an alliance of free worlds. The President wants you to accept the position of Admiral of Galactic Operations. Amy Rodriguez looked shocked. Sir, they are promoting you to Admiral? Admiral Walker laughed. Actually, they are promoting him to a rank that did not exist until yesterday. Admiral of Galactic Operations is the highest position in Earth's new space fleet. Jake looked around at his crew, these people who had followed him into impossible battles because they believed in doing what was right. They had risked everything to help strangers from distant worlds. Admiral, Jake said slowly, I accept the position, but only if my current crew can remain with me. These people have earned the right to continue this mission. Already approved, Walker replied. In fact, the U.S. Vengeance has been redesignated as the flagship of the Galactic Freedom Fleet. Oh, and Commander Morrison? The President has a message for you. The screen changed to show the President of Earth sitting in the Oval Office. Jake had never met the man personally, but every human knew his face. Admiral Morrison, the President began, 6 months ago, you made a decision that changed the course of galactic history. You chose to help innocent beings who were crying out for protection. That choice reflects the best of human nature and the values we want to represent among the stars. The president paused, looking directly into the camera. The galaxy now knows that Earth will stand with those who cannot defend themselves. We will not tolerate genocide, slavery, or oppression anywhere within our reach. You have given humanity a purpose among the stars beyond simple exploration or conquest. When the transmission ended, Jake sat down heavily in his command chair. The weight of responsibility felt enormous. Leading a rebellion against evil was one thing, but building a lasting peace would be much harder. Colonel Murphy appeared on the communication screen from the surface of Terminus Prime. Admiral Morrison, we have finished processing the last of the hegemony prison camps. Medical teams are treating over 50,000 beings who are in the final stages of the conditioning process. How many will recover fully? Jake asked. Most of them, sir. It turns out the hegemony's brainwashing techniques were designed for short-term compliance, not permanent damage. Given time and proper care, these people will remember who they were before they were enslaved. Lieutenant Tony Garcia looked up from his sensor station. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting incoming ships. Looks like delegations from the Outer Rim worlds. Ambassador Zephyr checked the communication channels. Admiral, these are species that were never conquered by the hegemony because they live too far away. They want to join the Alliance voluntarily. Jake realized that the Alliance was going to be much larger than anyone had imagined. Word of the hegemony's defeat was spreading across the entire galaxy, and peaceful species everywhere wanted to be part of an organization that promised to protect them from future threats. Over the next several hours, Jake received requests from over 100 different worlds asking to join the Galactic Freedom Alliance. Some were refugee populations from destroyed civilizations, hoping to rebuild their cultures in safety. Others were small, peaceful species that had been hiding from galactic politics for centuries. Admiral, Zephyr said as they processed the latest group of applications, you realize what this means? We are not just creating an alliance, we are creating the foundation for a new type of galactic civilization. Jake nodded slowly. One based on cooperation instead of conquest, protection instead of domination. Exactly. And it started because humans from a death world decided that some things are worth fighting for, regardless of the odds. As Jake looked out at the growing fleet of ships from dozens of worlds, he thought about the desperate message that had started everything. Ambassador Zephyr's plea for help had seemed like a simple request to save one small group of peaceful aliens. Instead, it had become the catalyst for the largest liberation movement in galactic history. The hegemony's empire of fear and oppression was gone forever, replaced by an alliance of free beings committed to protecting each other. Jake picked up his communication device and began recording a message to be broadcast across the galaxy. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Galactic Freedom Alliance. To all peaceful beings throughout the stars, you are not alone. If tyrants threaten you, if slavers hunt you, if anyone tries to take away your freedom, call for help. We will answer. We are humanity. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day, and we learned that the strong must protect the weak. That lesson will never be forgotten. The age of galactic freedom had begun.